Hello, and welcome to the Underpaid Gamers Podcast. My name is Tony. We are the official podcast of underpaidgamers.com. My friend and colleague Justin, again, is not going to be with us this week. He is up at camp, doing some camp counseling things. So this week, obviously, is the week after E3, so we'll be talking about that. But I also have news that does not pertain to E3, which we will get to first, in case you're tired of hearing about E3, like I am. So I'll see you after the theme song. Alright, welcome back. I have some news here for you. First things first, though, if you want to get in contact with us for whatever reason, you can tweet us at upgamerspodcast. You can email us at underpaidgamerspodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on SoundCloud at Underpaid Gamers Podcast and just comment right there on iTunes as well. And we have our YouTube channel, Underpaid Gamers. So anything like that you want to go to, just let us know. First things first, near and dear to my heart is Spider-Man. So Donald Glover joins the cast for Spider-Man Homecoming. However, he is in a mysterious role. Nobody knows what he is yet. So I tried to find out maybe what he would be doing. He was in The Martian. He was in that one scene where they're trying to decide if they can like slingshot around the moon to get enough energy or to get enough fuel and energy to meet up with Matt Damon. He's a guy that's like doing it with the stapler in the meeting room. So he shows there that he can be like funny and smart at the same time. And also throughout the whole movie, he's in The Martian. He's kind of he's a decent sized role. So he is also the voice of Miles Morales in the Ultimate Spider-Man TV series on Disney. So a lot of people think that he will be Miles Morales or that he'll be something tied into that. But that's super weird. That's a weird timeline because this Spider-Man, Tom Holland, is supposed to be like a younger Spider-Man, so like 15 or 16 years old. Donald Glover is 31 years old. So while Tom Holland's like 19, it's kind of easier for him to play a 15-year-old than it would be for Donald Glover because Miles Morales is younger than Peter Parker. It's also like a different universe, like if you bring in another Spider-Man, that's Miles Morales, and then we also have Peter Parker, there's like we have to talk about other universes. We have to talk about the Spider-Verse, stuff like that. And that's just really complicated for a Marvel movie. And it's, I don't know, that's a really weird thing to add right before you get to the Infinity War. So I don't think they're going to do that. I don't know what he's going to be. My first instinct would be that he would be Harry Osborn. But then I thought, like, again, he's too old. And there's a Michael Barbieri, who I thought was going to be Harry Osborn. He looks young. He looks equivalent in age to Tom Holland, so they'll probably be best friends in the movie. The only thing I could think of was that maybe he'll be working with Tony Stark, like as a protege or something like that. Not necessarily like a superhero role, but just as like a tech guy. But also maybe he's just working at the Daily Bugle. Maybe he's just another one of the people that Peter Parker knows, and he's not going to have any superpowers or anything like that. So we'll have to see what happens there. But then also along the lines of Spider-Man, there is a petition in Russia to change the voice actor from Peter Parker and Spider-Man in Civil War. They say that because it's not Tom Holland, because Tom Holland doesn't speak Russian, the voice actor is Vladimir Kanakuhin, I think, maybe, I don't know. But they say that he sounds more like a 10-year-old than like a 15-year-old. Or they just say he sounds super young. So the petition already has like 2,000 signatures, maybe more. I assume more at this point, just to try to change the voice actor in the Russian version of Civil War. Clearly, the Russians take Civil War very seriously. Ha. Battleborn gets microtransactions, is what I heard earlier this week. They're purely cosmetic, is what the developers say. But how many times have we heard that in the past, and then they change it? So we'll see what happens. Essentially, Battleborn could do whatever they want and nobody would care because as far as I don't know the sales figures, but they did not do well. Specifically with Overwatch coming out around the same time. Like, I just bought Overwatch today and I got the best thing, which is that new game smell. When you crack it open, it has that fresh plastic. It smells so good. I love new game smell. But, so when it's like Battleborn versus Overwatch, Overwatch is winning by so much and Battleborn's just not. We've talked about this before on the podcast, but in case you are a new listener, they're making a new Ocean's 11 movie. So there's that trilogy, Ocean's 11, 12, and 13. George Clooney, Matt Damon, Brad Pitt, all those people. But this one is going to be an all-female cast, and the title is going to be Ocean's 8, so only 8 female cast members. But the director says that they're going to be keeping around the same tone as, like, 11, 12, and 13, so, I don't know, like, kind of like a smart-mouthed criminal that's also just really smart type of thing. I don't know. I really like those movies. Ocean's 11 is probably one of my favorite movies. Well, technically, Ocean's 11 with Brad Pitt and George Clooney is a remake of the Ocean's 11 with the Rat Pack. So Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, all those people. Sammy Davis Jr. So this is like the third reboot, but this one's all-female. I don't have a problem with an all-female cast. Some people might, but we'll see what happens. If they keep the same tone, like, you can't make an Ocean's movie and not keep the same tone, because then it's not really an Ocean's movie. So we'll see what happens. I don't know the release date for that. But I do know that Dragon Quest VII is going to be released in the West here for the 3DS. Dragon Quest is a major game series in Japan. It's very similar to Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy was made after Dragon Quest, so Final Fantasy took a lot of things from Dragon Quest and kind of made them their own. But in Japan, Dragon Quest is bigger than Final Fantasy, whereas here in the West, everyone has heard of Final Fantasy. Not a lot of people have heard of Dragon Quest. So it's nice to see things from the East come to the West, and also Dragon Quest VIII is my favorite game of all time. So it's nice to be able to pick up more Dragon Quest here in the West that's translated to English as opposed to Japanese. Another thing near and dear to my heart is Melee and esports and the Melee community. And EVO 2016 has broken records and becomes the biggest Melee tournament of all time. Almost every year, the EVO is the biggest tournament. So EVO 2015 broke records. EVO 2014 broke records. So 2016 is just getting bigger and bigger, and that's so exciting to see. Melee itself is fantastic. It's 15 years old. It's nice to see that's growing and getting bigger and bigger. EVO is going to be on July 15th, and it's at it's at some palace in Las Vegas. Some big, I can't remember what it's called, but some sports arena that they're having it. So that's exciting to see things like that. Batman, The Killing Joke, will have a one-day theatrical release, and that's going to be on June 25th. So if you want to see The Killing Joke in theaters, you have one day to do it, and that's going to be July 25th. Other than that, I'm sure you can buy it online or download it for free online, whatever you fancy. The Twitch as a company, Twitch as a website, just as a corporation, are suing 7 individual people that make bots for Twitch. So these bots are like fake people that go into the Twitch stream and like spam the chat or just increase viewership numbers. And that's a big problem because the more viewers you have, the higher you get onto the Twitch like homepage. And then sometimes people just watch what's on the homepage because there's so many other people watching it, kind of like a peer pressure thing. So they in this lawsuit, they're citing these bot makers for fraud and for breach of contract, along with other things that I didn't write down. Essentially, the streamers that are using these bots are getting sued. Well, they're not getting sued, but it's the bot makers themselves. So that's very interesting. That's not something I would have necessarily thought. I would think that like bots are just a normal part of it, and you just kind of have to deal with it. But Twitch wants to be like an honorable platform, so they don't want to have these fake things in the background. Also, there's a lot of noise going on outside, so sorry if you hear that. Chris Pratt has he has wrapped up filming for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I don't know if he's the last one, but Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is finally wrapped up filming, so we will see that here next year. If it's anything like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, it's going to blow everybody away, and it's going to be one of the best films of that year, so that's very exciting. Along Marvel and Disney and animation, Finding Dory came out this weekend and breaks records for animated opening weekend and its second overall opening weekends. So it's the best, most grossing animated film of all time, specifically in the opening weekend, with $136.2 million just in the one weekend, and the second most overall grossing film and opening weekend of all time, just behind Jurassic World. Well, not just behind. Jurassic World had like $206 million on their opening weekend, and Finding Dory has $136 million. So it's going to be hard for anyone to beat Jurassic World, but Finding Dory is doing very well. I went out and saw it, and I did not think that highly of it. I don't know. It's been such a long time since Finding Nemo came out, and Finding Nemo wasn't my favorite Disney movie at all, or in general. And then Finding Dory came out. I felt like a lot of the jokes, like there wasn't like a lot of good jokes until like a 5-minute segment kind of towards the end. I'll try to talk about it without spoilers, but if you remember if you've seen the movie and you remember it, I think the funniest part is when they're chasing the truck on the highway. Well, they're not on the highway. There's a truck on the highway and they're chasing it. They're trying to get to it. And I think that like 5-minute segment's the funniest part, but everything before that was kind of let down, and kind of everything after that was kind of let down. It looks good in general. Like, Dory has freckles, and I never noticed that Dory has freckles, so that's nice to see. It's nice to see like that attention to detail, but at the same time, like, it was just like I paid like, me and my wife both went, so we paid like $20 to go see that movie, and we're just like, it's not worth $20. So I don't know. See it if you like Disney, and see it if you like Finding Nemo a lot, but I didn't think that highly of it. The GameStop CEO says that the Nintendo NX will have physical media. Some people thought that it would be download only. Some people thought it would even be an app for some gaming consoles, like for the Wii U, just download the NX, and then you can play all these other games. But this will actually have physical media, so whether it's a disc like the PS4 and the Xbox One, or whether it's a cartridge like other Nintendo things, we'll see what happens. But there was a lot of information released on the NX at E3, which we'll get to here in a minute. Kingdom Hearts 3 has said that there's not going to be any Final Fantasy levels in the game at all. Which I don't remember if Traverse Town is a Final Fantasy level or not. But I think there's been Final Fantasy levels in the previous games, so it's interesting to see that this one has not. However, it did show a little sneak peek that there's going to be a Tangled level, so it's going to have all these new Disney movies. I almost think that they're taking so long with Kingdom Hearts 3 just because Disney's like punching out these movies over and over again, and they just want to include as many as possible before they like release it. But it would be super cool if they had a Marvel level. So I don't know if that would be like an Avengers level, or that would just be like Captain America and Spider-Man or whatever, but it would be super awesome to have Captain America and Iron Man on your team instead of Goofy and Donald, because Donald's a piece of trash and Goofy doesn't know what he's doing half the time. Those are just my thoughts on Kingdom Hearts. Warcraft movie is doing extremely well in China. So on the first week here and released in US, it had $37 million. That's what I made. $37 million, which is not very good. In China, however, on the first week, it made $200 million. So that is incredibly well. That is so much more than US. I don't necessarily know why it's so popular in China, other than the fact that, one, I don't think they get that many US movies, because I know a lot of them are censored, and two, it's just a video game nation, so people are going crazy about it. So I think it will reach its goals, its money goals that they set for themselves. I also think there might be a sequel. It is now the best grossing international video game movie of all time, above Lara Croft's Tomb Raider, Angelina Jolie's Tomb Raider, and Jake Gyllenhaal's Prince of Persia. So while I don't think Prince of Persia is a very good milestone, I do think that the Tomb Raider movies are a good milestone. So Warcraft beat those. So props to Warcraft. And then my last little piece of news before we get to E3 news is that No Man's Sky has been battling a lawsuit against Sky TV in London. Sky TV has been suing No Man's Sky for the use of Sky in their name, which is stupid. But essentially, Sky TV wants to own the word Sky. So anything that has Sky in it, they want a piece of it. This was made more popular when Microsoft wanted to have their name be SkyDrive, and then Sky TV sued them, and now it's called OneDrive. So Sky TV has a good history of making people change their names. However, No Man's Sky has won the lawsuit, or at least settled the lawsuit. I think it was out of court, and it's still going to be called No Man's Sky, and Sky TV is just going to have to suck it up, because you're in London, and you can't own the word Sky, alright? That's ridiculous. Anyway, let's talk about E3 for a little bit. So I wrote down all the things that I thought might be interesting. All the, I did it all by, like, the press conferences, so I didn't write down every single game release. I didn't write down every single thing that is talked about. I'm just going to, like, bullet points, and there's some things I'm going to talk about more, specifically, like, the Sony press conference, and there's some things I'm going to talk about less, specifically the EA conference, because EA didn't really bring a lot to the table. But first, chronological order was EA. They announced Titanfall 2. They showed, I think, some campaign missions, some gunplay, stuff like that. They also announced that there's going to be free DLC for the whole lifespan of the game. And I think in-game content, things like that. And I think they said a free season pass, so we'll see what happens. Essentially, that's going back to how games used to be, right? So you used to buy a game, and that's it. People wouldn't add on to it, but now they can add on to it whenever they want. So it's interesting to see Titanfall 2. It'll be super awesome if they maintain this mentality throughout the whole life cycle of the game, where it's just free DLC. They don't offer anything for any price. That'll be fun to see. EA is known for their sports titles, Madden 17, FIFA, stuff like that. So if you like those games, there you go. Just like they should be. They're right there for you. They showed some Battlefield 1 gameplay, which looks better and very good. Better than what it originally looked like. I didn't have a problem with what it originally looked like, but they didn't show much. And now they showed, I guess the thing that stuck out to me the most was you can ride around with a Zeppelin and have people spawn in on you on the Zeppelin, and then you can, like, parachute down. But if the Zeppelin takes enough damage, it's going to blow up and fall to the ground. And once it falls to the ground, it, like, destroys, like, every house. So instead of, like, having what they used to have with the most recent Battlefields, where you couldn't destroy most things, it looks like they went back to the Battlefield Bad Company 2 days, where you can destroy, like, any wall you want, destroy whatever you want, which is super exciting. Because in Battlefield Bad Company 2, there were, like, these command posts. Essentially, it's like a bomb site. You have to go to the bomb site, and you have to destroy that bomb site. And you can either plant a bomb and blow it up. You can either, like, shoot it with a rocket launcher and blow it up. Or if you collapse the whole house around it, it blows up. So there's, like, 3 different ways to do it. I remember I played this a lot, and I thought it was the coolest idea. So planting the bomb would always kind of be difficult because there's the other team's playing defense. So sometimes you just blow up the whole house. You blow up, like, a wall at a time with a rocket launcher. Or sometimes you just blow up one wall so you can see the bomb site and just keep shooting rockets into that one hole in the wall, and eventually it, like, takes enough damage and it blows up. So if they implement that, I think that's what Battlefield does best. I think that's what sets Battlefield apart from other games. And I think that's something they need to work on. And if that's in the game, it's going to be incredible. EA also announced Mass Effect Andromeda. I did not pay attention to that. I've only played Mass Effect 1. But I think there's story details revealed and then some gameplay stuff. So if you want to check that out, you have my permission. Bethesda, very interesting. Bethesda officially announced what everyone has been wanting, which is the Skyrim Special Edition. This is going to be on consoles and PC. The big part of this is it has updated graphics, obviously, is what you'd expect, but also has mod support. This is going to be released in October, I believe. However, if you're a PC person, if you play Skyrim on PC and you own all the DLC, you get this upgrade for free no matter what. But this also includes all the DLC for Skyrim. So if you're someone like me that loved to play Skyrim but never bought the DLC, This is going to be a perfect pickup. I'm going to pick it up, no doubt. Increased graphics, the DLC that I never played before, then also mods, just really shouts out to me, something that I want. And I've been trying to get back into Skyrim recently, but then I found out about this, and I'm like, why would I play it on the PS3 when I can just wait a couple months and play it on the PS4, and it'll be incredible. Fallout 4 DLC was announced. There's Contraptions, which is like a Rube Goldberg machine, which is kind of cool. I'm excited to see what people can do with that. There probably will be a roller coaster. Someone's going to make a roller coaster, and it's going to be awesome. So that's fun. Then also they announced a Nuka-Cola World, which is kind of what I understood as a spoof on Coca-Cola World. I mean, obviously Nuka-Cola and Coca-Cola are like, they're supposed to be like a spoof on each other. But the Coca-Cola World in Atlanta, Georgia looked kind of like what they showed in the trailer for Nuka-Cola World. So it's very interesting to see. It's just another location you can go to on the map. Elder Scrolls 6 is in development, but it won't be released until 2 more games, which they have not announced yet. So there's 2 more games before Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. And they say these 2 other games are going to be bigger than anything Bethesda has done before. So that's very interesting. So everything that they announced at E3, there's also at least 2 more games, and then Elder Scrolls 6. So it was very interesting. Prey 2, which is titled just singularly Prey. If you watch the trailer, it's the guy that wakes up every morning, and then he looks in the mirror, and progressively his eyes get more and more red. That didn't make any sense to me. I didn't know what that meant. I never played Prey, but it seemed to get the crowd pretty hyped. Bethesda had a good conference overall. They showed some Dishonored 2. What I found most interesting, well, I guess there's a few things. One, you can choose to play as either the girl or the guy, and both of them have like different powers. But also, they said that you can play through the whole game without using any single power, which I think is very interesting. And Dishonored is, that's kind of like the whole purpose behind Dishonored, is that you can play it however you want. So you can use this power, you can use this power. I played the first game, and it took me maybe a week to beat it, and then I went through and watched a speedrun, and a guy beat it in like 45 minutes. Like, there's a blink ability, which is like a teleport, but only where you can see. So he like upgraded that as fast as possible, and then he would just like teleport through the level and like kill things, and then like teleport back and forth. It took me like 20 hours to beat, just because I was trying to take everything in, but he did it in a speedrun in like 45 minutes. So it was really awesome. So Dishonored 2, very excited for. It's nice to see things like you can choose to be the girl or the guy, and they both have different powers, or you can choose to not use any powers at all, and you can still beat the game. So that's fun. Quake Champions is a remake of Quake, and it is intended to be for esports. Again, this is just highlights, so if you want a more in-depth look, we'll talk about it later when Justin comes back. Microsoft, they announced some games, but what most people took from the Microsoft conference was the Xbox One S and Project Scorpio. So Xbox One S is essentially a slim version of the Xbox One. It's a white. It comes with a white controller, so very more similar to Xbox 360, which is probably what they should have made the Xbox One, is a white console instead of a black console, because Sony's kind of always had black ever since PS2. Well, I guess Xbox One, well, the original Xbox was black, and then 360 was white, but they sold so many 360s that they should have just kept with this color scheme. Now it looks like they're going back to it. Xbox One S is going to be a slimmed down version. It's 40% smaller than the Xbox One. It has 4K output, but only for video and not for games. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking about going out and buy one. There is like a $299 price tag on the Xbox One S, which has a terabyte hard drive, I believe. And then there's a 2 terabyte, and it's I want to say it's $399 price tag. So it's not a bad price for what you get. Xbox One, I still think, suffers from a lack of games and a lack of some other things. And they announced it to have 4K output, but again, it's only for video. It's not for games. So just keep that in mind. What they did announce that kind of blew everybody away was Project Scorpio, and this is like, essentially, this is their next gen game, like their next gen console. So it's more powerful than anything that's out there. They said the word teraflop like 6 different times. They said that this is coming holiday season of 2017, so not this year, but next year. And by next year, I think these current gen systems, the PS4 and the Xbox One, will have been out for 4 or 5 years. So it's almost time to start moving on with the generation. I don't necessarily think so. I think they can still get a lot out of this PS4, and I'm not going to buy the PS5 anytime soon. Probably not until 2019 or 2020, which is 4 years from now. Just because the PS2 lasted for so long, the PS3 lasted for so long. I think these systems should last longer, and for whatever reason, they announced Scorpio, and it's going to come next year. They did announce some cool things with it, though. VR capabilities are coming out specifically for Fallout 4, so you will be able to play Fallout 4 VR. They said specifically, this is going to be the most powerful console ever built. And I was like, yeah, obviously, like, why would you go backwards? Like, if you're going to make a new console, make it more powerful than every console that's ever been before. So you could say that for every console that's been made. The PS2, more powerful than the PS1. PS3, more powerful than the PS2. Like, it just goes back and forth. So the PS3 is more powerful than the Xbox, and the Xbox 360 is more powerful than the PS2, and now the PS4 is more powerful than the 360, and the Xbox One is more powerful than the PS3. Like, clearly, if you're gonna make a new console, it's going to be more powerful. You don't need to put that You don't need to put that sentence in. But I know that you want to because it's a marketing deal. But I'm just like, yeah, obviously it's going to be stronger or more powerful. They did say, however, that all Xbox One games will be playable on everything, which includes Xbox One Original, includes Xbox One S, and includes the Scorpio. So that just brings up another point that I'm just like, why? My chair's squeaking, and I'm sorry. This just brings up another point of why would you announce the Scorpio? Like, why would anyone buy the Scorpio if you can still play all your old games? Like, there's no point to it because the old games aren't equipped to scale up to 4K. In the new games, now developers have to make games for Xbox One and the Scorpio. So they're going to have games that are 4K and then have to descale them to play on Xbox One. Or they make the same game and just upscalable on the Scorpio to 4K. We're not to Sony's press conference yet, but we will get there. Sony did not announce anything for the next system, for the PS4.5 or the PS4K. I think Xbox really showed their hand on this one, and I think they showed it too early. While the Scorpio is an incredible machine, and they have all these new features in it, and all these, it's very close to a computer. Well, maybe not very close, but it's the closest to a PC we've ever gotten in a console. They released all this information, and now Sony still can keep its cards close to its chest and just go back and rework everything in the PS4K. Because clearly they have a timeline. Scorpio's not going to be released until 2017. PS4 or PS5 or PS4.5 or whatever, PS4K, whatever, they can go back and rework all of that. So now Microsoft said, look at this. I think Microsoft's puffing their chest out a little bit. They said, look at this. You can't match this. We announced this a year and a half in advance. And I think that might be the downfall. They don't have the appropriate sales on Xbox One to be flaunting like this. Like, there's not. I think the only people that bought Xbox One are like the loyal Xbox players. So like, yeah, they bought it for Halo and they bought it for Gears and they bought it for these other things. But the PS4 has sold 2 times more consoles than the Xbox One. Like, there's so many more things that Sony can do for the PS4 now that Scorpio has been released. Not released, but now that Scorpio has been, like, shown and they showed what's in it, like, Sony at the very least could match that or maybe be a little bit worse than that. And I still think they would still buy it because people already have this giant library of games for the PS4, especially by the next holiday season. So sometimes, yes, you'll have people that buy the PS4 and then they'll go back and buy the Scorpio, but then you have to rebuy all those games. Whereas now, people can just keep their PS4 games and then play them, I assume, on whatever the next PS4 console is. So I don't know. That's a debate to have once we get closer to holiday season of next year. But Microsoft also showed Final Fantasy 15, like a demo of it, just a boss fight, and it looked really cool. Clearly, it's not the like turn-based combat that Final Fantasy used to have back in the old days. Now it's like a 3D movement system, like you can move wherever you want, and I think there's a cooldown system, so that's kind of turn-based, but not necessarily the same. I guess it looks more like Chrono Triggers than a classic Final Fantasy, but it looked cool. There was a VR thing for it at the Sony conference, so we could talk about that if I remember. But who knows? I might not. I'm going to take a sip of my water. Ubisoft? Whatever company, however you pronounce that, I never know, had one of the worst press conferences I think I've seen. It was just very bad. They showed some games that are interesting, specifically Ghost Recon Wildlands, which is more like it's a Tom Clancy game. So it plays very much like a Tom Clancy game, but it's open world, and it's co-op. So just imagine that. Tom Clancy, third-person shooter / first-person shooter that's open world, and it's co-op. That's exactly what it is. They also announced some new gameplay stuff for Watch Dogs 2, which I'm pretty excited for. I enjoyed Watch Dogs 1 for the most part. Watch Dogs 2, I think they can benefit from where they failed on Watch Dogs 1. I think it'll be better. So we'll see what happens there. And then they also announced their new AAA IP that they weren't... Wait. Their new AAA IP... Yeah, the new AAA IP that they haven't talked about. They released it here, and it's called Steep. And essentially, you are on a mountain. It's like a extreme sports game. So you can use snow skis, or you can snowboard, or you can like hang glide or glider suit or whatever, and you go down this mountain, and the mountain's huge, and like you can do tricks and go off jumps, and then you can challenge your friends to do the same thing. And this is like a AAA game, but it's very realistic. It's like a realistic movement system, or realistic like tricks and stuff. It's not like SS Tricky, like those games where you could like go up and do backflips and like kick your snowboard off and fling it around your head and then put it back on. And it's not like a Tony Hawk game where you can do all these crazy things either. It's more like a realistic game. And I just don't think... I don't see a market for that. I don't see a market for extreme sports games anymore. That kind of faded out with Skate. Skate 3 was kind of like the last... So Skate 3 is a realistic type game. So imagine that, but on a mountain in the snow. And I don't think the focus is on like what equipment you're using. I still think it's on your body. So Skate, you always like... The camera was always on your board, and you had to control the board with the 2 thumbsticks. I think this one's... Well, I don't know. They announced it, and I stopped watching because it did not look interesting. So if you're into snow sports, if you're into extreme sports, check out Steep. See what you think. But I did not enjoy watching that. It was like the last part of their conference. They're like, we saved the best for last. Here it is. And I'm like, that's it? And there's nothing to this. Like, this doesn't look good. Anyway, on to mine and hopefully everybody's favorite press conference of 2016, which is the Sony press conference, the PlayStation press conference. And first, I just have to let you know, if you have not watched it, and you have an hour, watch the whole conference. Because the coolest part was that they had a live orchestra, and they're in this theater. And the guests sat down at a theater, like a huge theater, and there's the orchestra playing while guests walk in, just kind of like background ambient music. And then the first gameplay trailer was revealed, which was God of War. And you realized halfway through the trailer, maybe not halfway, but at the beginning of the trailer, that there was no game music to that. It was the live orchestra that was playing the music in the game. So that's incredible. So the orchestra was playing live the whole conference, and they were playing the music that you'd normally find in the game, but instead they were playing it like right in front of you. So very interesting, very cool, definitely worth watching. And that's probably the best. The live orchestra is probably my favorite part of all of E3, just the fact that they nailed it. They nailed it. They had to practice that so many times, I'm sure, and it was just perfect. So God of War came out. It's a Norse mythology Kratos has a beard now and a child, so that's interesting. I've never played the God of War games, but it does look good. It looks like something that I could enjoy, and it looks like a good starting point for anyone that has not played God of War games before. I say that because I'm thinking about picking it up when it comes out. A big surprise, they announced that Crash Bandicoot is going to be remastered. Crash Bandicoot 1 and 2 and Warped. So the first 3 games are going to be remastered from the ground up for the PS4 exclusively. And Naughty Dog had originally made those games, but then Activision had the rights to them. So Activision is remaking them with another developer. It's not Naughty Dog, don't worry about it. Naughty Dog is working on The Last of Us 2 or whatever Naughty Dog wants to work on. It's going to be incredible. The PSVR has a price tag, $399.99. They also showed games of... there's a Final Fantasy VR thing where you shot a gun at a giant thing. I didn't understand that. There was an X-Wing pilot VR. So it's like you're piloting an X-Wing from Star Wars, so that's exciting. There's also Batman VR. So that's also exciting. A lot of people said that the VR looked really good. So we'll see what happens. I don't plan on buying one just because, as we talked about last week, the CEO of Take-Two, which is who's behind like Grand Theft Auto and things like that, they say that there's not a market for VR right now, and I agree 100%. I don't have room in my house for VR. I have room in my house for a laptop and a PS4 and a monitor. I don't have room to be running around and flailing my arms to play a game. Like, it's just, I'm compact now, and I don't have time or space to have VR, so I'm not even going to plan on buying one now, if ever. They showed the first glimpse of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. They showed an extended gameplay trailer, in space, and I don't know what to think of this trailer. If you strip the Call of Duty title from it, Infinite Warfare, and it's just Infinite Warfare, and you don't think of it as a Call of Duty game, I think it looks incredible. I think it looks really good. I think it's really well polished. It works really well. The gunplay in it looks good. You can get into like this. It's very similar to an X-Wing, and you fly around, and there's space battles, and it's not on rails. It's like kind of like an open world space battle, they were saying. And as a game in general, that looks very interesting, and that's just the campaign. But once you throw on the Call of Duty title, you have to start worrying about what that's going to mean for multiplayer, which I think is what most people play Call of Duty for after release. So you can get the campaign done within like a month if you're slow, and then for the next 11 months, people just play it for the multiplayer. So when you see things like grappling hooks and space battles, you start to wonder what that's going to mean for the multiplayer. And as we talked about, they're not going to have a multiplayer reveal until COD XP, which is in October, I believe. So that's just a month before the game comes out. So whether they're waiting to polish that or whether they think it's going to be bad and they just want to throw it up so people buy it really quickly, I don't know. But Infinite Warfare looks incredible. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare is questionable, and I don't know where the series is going to go. But that's all I have to say about that for right now. Horizon Zero Dawn, they showed even more gameplay. A week before E3, they announced that the game was going to be moved back until February 28th, which is cool. They then showed a new gameplay of that, and then at E3 they added even more gameplay, and now there's like a oh, it was cool. So Horizon is the robot dinosaurs game. It's kind of like a post-apocalyptic thing. So you're this girl, and you have like a spear and a bow and arrow. And there's this one really cool scene where she needed to get from point A to point B quicker than just walking. So she kind of like wrangled herself a robot dinosaur and like reprogrammed it and used it as like a horse. And then at the very end, she attacked this giant like Metal Gear Solid looking thing. I'm gonna beat it with her bow and arrow. So I don't know. That looks really cool. Just in general, like I think that game's gonna be awesome. I have to wait now till February, which is probably a good market for it. There's not a lot of other things coming out in February. It doesn't have to compete for that like November. Everything that comes out in November. So Battlefield, Watch Dogs, Titanfall 2, Call of Duty, other November things. So it kind of has like the first quarter of the year kind of to itself, and I think it'll sell really well. Again, it's a PS4 exclusive. It's a first-party developer, so it's nice to see. As someone that owns a PS4 and has owned a PS3, it's nice to see some great-looking games on a Sony console as opposed to an Xbox console. And what I mean by that is, Xbox had like Halo and Gears of War, and all those things are super cool. But now it's nice to see really cool things on the PS4. After that, they showed the new game by Hideo Kojima. It's called Death Stranding. And this is Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead. And an ink baby. It's all I could explain it as. It's the weirdest trailer I've ever seen. If you haven't seen it by now, go and watch it and try to make something of it. But I guarantee you that you won't. What they did say that what was shown in the demo in that little trailer wasn't actually going to be a playable section in the game, and that won't specifically be in the game. So it's kind of more just like an announcement. And I think this is just a big middle finger to Konami, because Konami like treated Hideo Kojima so poorly at the end of Metal Gear Solid 5. Like he left, like they fired him. Which is so interesting because he is behind some of the best games that have ever been created. If you look at a top 100 list of video games of all time, Metal Gear Solid is going to be on there, and he was the mastermind behind that. Metal Gear Solid is always in like someone's like top 5, and he was a mastermind behind that. So, and Metal Gear Solid isn't just a great story; it's great gameplay, and it pushes the system to different limits. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with this new game. There's no release date announced for this. Don't expect this game to come out anytime before 2018. It's like he's going to take his time to work on it. It's going to be like his masterpiece. It's going to be like his coming to PlayStation game. So they announced this super far out from when they're going to release it. And again, normally they don't announce games more than a year out. More than like 18 months out, but for whatever reason they announced his game, and like I said, I think that's just a big middle finger to Konami. They're saying, Sony's saying, like, look, we have this fantastic developer, we have this incredible game, we are not slowing down, this is going to be incredible. Konami, you suck for you suck for letting him go. And then a few more games, and then my super secret the game that took me by surprise and I'm so excited for. Before that, there is Days Gone, which is more like it's a zombie game. It's a post-apocalyptic zombie game. It is a open world game. It's like an open world biker gang game. So I think Sons of Anarchy, post-apocalyptic with zombies. This game looks incredible. It looks like a lot of fun. I think it's going to have a lot of hard times being compared to The Last of Us, because The Last of Us was very similar to that. Both of them are PlayStation exclusives. So I think it has to do a lot to differentiate itself from The Last of Us, but I do think it looks incredible. They also announced Forza Horizon 3, which is always a really good seller, and then Detroit Become Human, which is from the developers of Heavy Rain, Quantic Dream, which is very fun. It is that decision-based game that I'm trying to get Justin to play all the time, and he will not play. But it's Heavy Rain is one of my favorite games of all time, just based on story, based on all the different endings. There's like 22 different endings, based on this, based on that. If you have a PS3 and you have access to play Heavy Rain, you could probably pick it up for like $10 at most, and just play it. It's incredible. Now finally, the crown gem of the Sony press conference. After all that, they announced Spider-Man game for the PS4. How freaking exciting is that? It's going to be a PS4 exclusive, so we'll talk about that in a second. And it's made by Insomniac Games. So while we did talk about this before E3, I talked about how it would be awesome to have a Sucker Punch game, a Sucker Punch Spider-Man game. Insomniac is also a very good developer to make this. Insomniac was behind Ratchet & Clank, behind Resistance, behind Sunset Overdrive. So I'm sure they take everything they learned from there and they're going to put it into this game. There's no release date or even a name for this game yet, but I expect it by 2017. Probably holiday season of 2017 is when you can expect to see this. It's a PS4 exclusive, and a lot of people are up in arms in that. A lot of comments you can see, oh, this game looks awesome, but it's a PS4, so I'm never going to play it. And I'm like, first of all, it's from a Sony developer. Okay, Insomniac made Sunset Overdrive, which is an Xbox One exclusive. But normally, they make games exclusively for PlayStation for Sony. So they're going back to what they normally do. But also, you're catering to like the 2/3 percentage of console owners. Like, Sony has sold 2% or 50% more consoles than... That's not right. Sony has sold twice as many consoles as Xbox One. Why would you ever make an exclusive game for a console that hardly sold anything, right? So Xbox One, just in general terms, is not selling very well. PS4 is selling incredibly well. Of course you're going to make games for that. Of course you're going to make exclusive games for that. Now, I'm sure some people don't agree, and if you don't agree, please let me know, because I'd love to have a conversation with you. I'd like to see your point of view. So like I said earlier, you can contact us at underpaid at UP Gamers Podcast on Twitter, or even email underpaidgamerspodcast@gmail.com. Anyway, Spider-Man, super excited for it. I actually tore through their trailer and made an Easter egg video on our YouTube channel, Underpaid Gamers, just on YouTube. So if you want to see their trailer broken down in depth, you can look at that. It's currently our most watched video, which I'm super excited about. And then finally, Nintendo released a few things. I only have 2 things written down for them because I don't think they talked about much. Pokemon Sun and Moon, they released some new Pokemon, a new professor, and a new region, and then they show some gameplay. So if you're about Pokemon, you can look at that. But their big crown jewel was Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I believe is what it's called. So it's just another Legend of Zelda game. Open world. This is for the NX, I believe. They said that this world is 12 times larger than Twilight Princess. So if you play Twilight Princess, you know how big that is. Picture that times 12. Everything they showed at the conference, all the gameplay, all together, they said was 1% of the world. So they showed a lot. Also, the newest part of this was that Link can now like climb on things, very similar to Assassin's Creed. I assume he has to get some like climbing glove items and he can start jumping on things. But that was very interesting. It adds a new verticality to the game that wasn't there before, necessarily. I have never played a Legend of Zelda game before. I will not play this one. I'm not going to buy an NX for this. But this does look like a game that people that love Legend of Zelda games is going to love. Those people are going to love this game. So that is for the gamers that love that game. So Nintendo obviously is doing what only they can do, which is just making their games over and over and over again. So always using the same franchises and keep expanding on those. And I don't have a problem with that. That's what they're known for. That's what they do. That's what they do best. But they do need to get some new third-party developers in there, because I think that's one of the reasons why the Wii and the Wii U didn't sell very well, is just because there wasn't a lot. Like the Wii U has Splatoon and some other games, and Splatoon sold well, but they just need some third-party developers. Anyway, that was everything I had written down for E3, and their coverage was right there. All these notes are going to be on our website again, underpaidgamers.com. Thanks for listening. Again, if you want to contact us, you can get us at Twitter at UP Gamers Podcast. You can email us at underpaidgamerspodcast@gmail.com. We are on SoundCloud, where you're probably listening to this right now. Just go ahead and comment at this time. We're on iTunes, on YouTube. We're on our own website. So thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.